Back again, it's Row in Hand, it's the morning programme Out of Newry to the World. Every morning, 7:30 to 10:30, and at this time on a Wednesday morning, the morning that the Newry reporter hits the streets, and before the necessity of starting to put to bed next week's paper, we have a moment with Cormac Campbell. How are you?
I'm not so bad, Rowan. You look like a man who spent the last 5 or 6 nights at Newry Town Hall going to the drama festival every night.
That's a kind of a double-edged sword. One, it's an encouragement to my artistic side. It's also telling me that I look absolutely knackered, so to speak. But no, I feel very good actually. Have you been to the drama festival?
I was at it the last 2 nights.
I couldn't go because I need to be in bed every evening at 8 o'clock to get up at 3 o'clock to be in here at 4. I can't help that.
Early mornings.
That's what happens.
No,
you know?
The last 2 nights were a bit of a mix. The first night was a comedy. Last night was more of a
on
horror
a scale of 0 to 10, thus far, it's sort of a conglomeration of everything. Where would you put it? In an excellent scale. 0 is crap and 10 is wonderful.
I think the first thing is it's an incredible event that happens here every year. I think it's 60, 50 or something along those lines. I don't know off the top of my head. But to have 10 nights of drama from some top class drama groups from all over Ireland is a pretty special event to have in your town. People often complain that there aren't enough arts events in here. Yes. Here we have a top class event.
Yes.
Top class productions. Now the sets are.
So we're 10 out of 10 for the event. The wonderment of it, you know.
Certainly, like with such a wide mix of shows, you're not always gonna enjoy the show in particular, whereas the person sitting next to you could think it was the best thing ever. So from that point of view, that's the beauty of it. Go and see different shows, see what you like, and then perhaps we'll have a bigger arts industry in Newry throughout the year.
It has its own distinctive following. There are people buy the season tickets. Yes. I don't think you could get a season ticket now for love nor money.
The season tickets, I mean, there's people there every single night, and then there's people who they look at the programme in the paper and they pick and choose the shows that appeal to them. And certainly some shows are going to appeal to them more than others. Also, in an odd way, there'll be drama groups from different areas who come on an annual basis, who have a very good reputation, that people will want to see what their production is for this year. So you'll notice that as well.
It has to be in the town hall, of course.
Absolutely.
That's the whole joy of it, is the smell, the kind of atmosphere and the noise.
I mean, lots made of the town hall being fairly run down, but it's still a beautiful building with you know, great atmosphere. And if that little bit of money spent on it, bringing it up to standard, then all the better. Yeah,
the town hall could do with some of the 700,000 they're now talking about to put 14 or 11 new places in Newry and Mourne Council.
What a beautiful segue, Rowan.
Quite accidental, dear boy.
Incredibly smooth.
Yeah, oh yes, of course.
Which leads us seamlessly to page 3.
What are they doing
One
up
would
there?
have thought this was rehearsed.
No, not at all.
Not
Wouldn't
at all.
do that.
Well, essentially, there's an election in May.
Yes.
But it's not for Newry and Mourne Council. It's for Newry, Mourne and Down Council, which is the merger of Newry and Mourne District Council with Down District Council, so Downpatrick, Newcastle, Ballynahinch, as far as Saintfield actually. So that's quite a large area. At present, Newry and Mourne has 30 seats.
Yes.
I believe Down District is 23. Now that's been compressed to 41 seats.
41.
However, the current chamber at Monaghan Row, just a stone's throw from here, has 30 seats. Now, the problem with that is they've looked at the shape of the room, they've looked at everything else, and they don't think that they can actually fit in the extra seats with the, obviously it's not just a seat, it's you need a table, computer access, and all the things that go with it. So initially it was suggested...
Tell me before you go any further, do the councillors use computers during the meetings?
Well, they do and they don't. Some don't.
Some don't.
And at the same time, I've been at meetings where councillors perhaps have been looking at material they shouldn't have, tickets for concerts and things.
Why don't they? Do you know the way the table runs in a horseshoe kind of thing down to the main desk?
Yes.
Now, consider everybody sitting around on the chairs close to the table. Consider taking the 2 tables. There's a space in the middle.
Yes.
Closing the space in the middle by, say, 6 feet.
Yes.
Bring them in, and then get 2 rows of comfortable, well-upholstered benches with backs and arms on them down each side.
Well, you heard it
We
here
have
first.
We've solved it.
Well, to that end,
You come up with your own idea.
to that
a porta
end,
cabin.
some of the councillors at the meeting, where it was discovered that the initial estimate was £350,000 for this extension renovation work. Now that's doubled apparently to £700,000, and a number of the councillors weren't particularly happy about this.
Yes.
Newry Town Councillor Brenton Kern, he first raised the concerns about it, and
He's an independent fellow.
he's
now.
an independent
Yes.
councillor now. Yes, haven't been in Sinn Féin for a very long
lifetime.
time. He said it'll probably be £1 million by the time the council are through with it. You'll be looking at the back of people's heads, looking at a screen, and then he had a go that just stating that, sure, the ratepayers will pay for anything, just sort of saying that the people controlling the purse strings,
Yeah,
you know, it's not their money,
Yeah,
so they don't care.
yeah.
Now, Jackie Patterson, another independent councillor, he was also less than impressed. He said the expansions to facilitate a small number of seats, it's not acceptable. In 5 years, they'll actually be looking at developing a new council HQ, so the room will actually be demolished, according to him. So it'll be money flushed down the toilet. And John McCardle also referred to it as incompetency. So there are dissenting voices. Now, from a press point of view, the dissenting voice I would present is that in the current council chamber there are 4 press seats.
Yes.
Which isn't enough if all the newspapers show up.
Oh, yes. Yeah.
Now, in the proposal for the £700,000 expansion of the facility, the number of press seats has been reduced to 2.
And we have double the area to cover.
More councillors.
More papers.
Exactly. You would assume newspapers from Downpatrick would
Absolutely.
have an interest in covering council meetings. So instead of increasing the number of press seats, they've actually reduced it, which raises further questions about how much thought has gone into this proposal.
I do think my idea is a cracker. And I think
benches.
Yeah, but I mean, there are benches.
Why not?
The bench would be like that, what you're sitting on. And it would be running along the back of the existing places.
And they'd be closer to each other for their fights.
Up one.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it'd be cushioned so that they would bounce rather than damage themselves seriously.
Well, they love a good argument, and for me, the best argument they had last week was in relation to Park Esler.
Oh, yes. The marshes.
The marshes. Now,
as I like to call
Park
it.
Esler, as you know, attracts fairly sizable crowds for Down league games.
Yes.
Now, if Down ever managed to get a home championship game, which seems an impossibility for some reason. At the moment,
yes.
You could have up to 20,000 people going to
Yes.
a game. Now, if you remember back 5-6 years, there was no traffic management plan.
No.
People parked down the hard shoulder of the dual carriageway, across the green strip up the middle of it.
And up the Warren Point Road, up beyond, up towards Newry. Greatly disadvantaging people who wanted to, pedestrians. They couldn't use the space anymore.
Certainly. Now, a number of councillors aren't so happy with the new system that was introduced a couple of years ago, which essentially means that cars are parked in Greenbank.
Yeah.
There's a freeze on them being allowed to leave Greenbank until pedestrian footfall has left the area, and then the traffic can move.
Wow.
Now, Councillor Declan McAteer said that the area is overconed in relation to what you were talking about, the 1 Point Road and areas like that. And
that's a new word for the language.
Overconed.
Overconed.
Yeah.
Hey, if you're overconing there, stop it. You know. Oh, do you ever hear that phrase before? Is that the first time you've heard the phrase overconed?
Certainly not in
No,
a mock American accent.
No, but have you ever heard it?
No.
My ancestors came from America, and every now and again it breaks through.
Where did their ancestors come from?
Well, they're from Lithuania.
Lithuania.
Yeah, and I can speak the language. Don't talk to me about not being able to speak the language. I can. Anyway, let me stop you there, dear boy.
So, Councillor Declan McAteer said the area was overconed, whilst Councillor Davy Hyland said that people feel forced to park in housing estates during games at Park Esler. Now, I don't know about you, the housing estates close to Park Esler are quite a distance from Park Esler, whereas the Greenbank expanse of the Greenbank is right there.
They don't want to have to wait at the end. That's
exactly.
the problem.
Now, Councillor McMurphy from Crotleaf, Councillor from he was less than impressed with the criticisms, and he said, "I'm glad to see what is happening, and I think the GAA is as well. People used to park on the hard shoulders and on the green in the middle of the dual carriageway, which was dangerous. This criticism is wrong." Now, I'm sure there's people.
What criticism is wrong?
The criticism that the new traffic management system
Is bad.
Is bad.
Yes,
yeah.
but what was wrong was the parking the way it used to be.
Yeah.
That's what he's saying.
Yeah. Now, it was great if you lived in Warren Point, like myself,
yeah.
that you could park facing Warren Point and
then get away.
whatever else. But, you know, but in terms of council-related matters, we're coming up to an election, so obviously people are declaring candidates. We've got details of the SDLP selections for.
I saw them in the paper.
areas. Yeah.
No one has yet invented a way to make politicians look interesting in staged photographs. They're dreadful. You see them sound.
Declan McAteer's wearing quite an interesting jacket.
Yeah, and shoulder behind shoulder. You know, they're all standing there. It's so crazy. You know?
But nothing excites me like a good election, Rowan. I've got to say, it's.
I can see. I have seen people before you. Maybe your forebears down the Midlands of Ireland, standing in at a count with a cloth cap on and reaching in over the chicken wire fence at the count and going and taking me notes. Count. You're enthused by elections.
I do like a good election.
Yeah.
It's a good time to ask questions. It's a good time to get answers. Now, what we're also learning at the moment is who's not running.
Yes.
Which now, if you look at the SDLP photographs of who is running, will explain who's not, and notably some of the Newry candidates. John McCardle's retiring, he's gone, and Frank Feely's gone.
Frank Feely's gone.
Two very long serving members of the council. And also, hopefully we'll get a few words from the two outgoing councillors next week. But this week, we've Jackie Patterson, another very long serving
He's going?
He's announced that he's stepping down.
Is Mr. Curran going?
He hasn't made a formal announcement, so I wouldn't like to make a suggestion.
We shan't preempt anything. We'll wait.
We'll
bated
wait.
breath.
We'll wait for that. But certainly, if you imagine then that Councillor Feely is gone, Councillor Patterson's gone, Councillor McCardle's gone, and should another Newry Town councillor make a similar decision, that means the people representing Newry Town will, to a large extent, be entirely different than.
Yes, of course.
With only a.
They have that fellow who sometimes comes. Peter McAvoy standing.
He's standing for the SLP, as is Gary Stokes, who was a councillor.
Yeah, he's coming back.
He's running for election.
Yeah, they're two good people, and they're all good people, we have to say, bearing in mind the Representation of the People Act. Just have to keep right. We're not in the run-in.
Well, they're there to speak for people, and if they're elected, that means they speak for the people that elected them. So they're representing the views of members of this community, which is the whole point of democracy.
Democracy, I love it. It's good.
A few little bits of good news. One is that the proposal for the refurbishment of Caleavy Castle into a hotel and wellbeing centre. So South Armagh could be getting its first swimming pool.
That's an impossible thought.
I think you have to track back to when Slieve Gully and Forest Park, when all the work was done there, and that was quite visionary work for all.
It was visionary because at the time, well, you and I both remember a time when Slieve Gullion was nothing like what we've got today.
Certainly not.
What we've got today is sophisticated and wonderful, and
now we're getting the benefits of that. Some public investment leading to private investment.
Yeah.
So this proposal, up to 40 bedrooms, and up to 85 full-time and 30 part-time jobs is the vision for the site. It's a beautiful old castle. It's in terrible condition. So this eradicates that problem. So it's. Obviously, everyone's absolutely delighted with the news. Certainly, the economy in South Armagh. Now, there are other proposals. There's a phase 2 of the play facility at Slieve Gullion likely to go ahead. There's also proposals for a camping facility at Slieve Gullion. So, from being a fairly minor, perhaps you may have gone once a year for a walk, to it being a genuine hub of tourism
people are going
is pretty
there.
special.
You hear them talking about going out to Slieve Gullion all the time. They go out for coffee and lunch and tea and stuff.
It's not just they're going out for a walk about, they're spending money, and that's creating jobs which are sorely needed.
Absolutely.
A bit more positive news. We spoke a number of weeks ago about abandoned horses in the Mournes.
Yes.
Now,
that was a good story because they've been looked after. Someone has taken them in.
Yes, the fear was that they were going to be put down.
Yes.
There was a court order said
euthanized.
Euthanized
is the easy word.
Euthanized, or put down humanely, despite the fact they're not human.
But neither word takes away from the awfulness of the noise of the of the bolt gun.
Yeah,
It's still the same
thankfully,
thing.
all three ponies have now found a new home, which is wonderful news. Now, the sad thing about that, sometimes it feels like you go one step forward and two steps back.
Yeah.
Now, there was an item in the magistrates' court last week where 9 horses were seized in pretty unfavourable conditions. So 3 ponies have been rescued, but 9 horses are.
9. Yeah.
Another animal story that's in the paper is a beautiful story about
The dog.
The dog, yeah. Cullyhanna man Patrick McDonnell, who suffered a serious work accident 2 years ago, and he's talking about his beautiful dog Holly, who is helper dog. So he says when Holly's working, she's a working dog, but when she's at home, she's the family pet. And it's actually Patrick's father who steals most of Holly's attention. So it's a beautiful story about just how useful trained dogs can be.
And what does Holly do for her master?
Well, she he I'll just find that the passage. I'll say it in Patrick's words. So they went to Belfast to meet Holly. And she can open and close doors from, which is pretty impressive. She can bark on command, and if he ever has any difficulties, that means that she can alert people. So she helps him get out of the house an awful lot more, and it gives him extra confidence. So from that point of view, so everyone has a dog. Well, not everybody, but a lot of people have a dog. And to think that with some training that they can make such a difference to people's lives, it's truly huge. Wonderful.
There's a lovely thing in the back page of your reporter today. It's Medal Glory. Oisin O'Callaghan on his way to All Ireland Gold in Athlone at the weekend. We have an All Ireland champion.
We actually have a number of All Ireland athletics champions.
Gracious.
There was a time when I think athletics was a second thought. Perhaps in this area. And not to say that there weren't great athletes, but they perhaps weren't getting the push that they are today. And we have some absolutely incredible athletes, not just competing at national standard, but some of them are starting to push into international standard. So you would hope that it won't be long before there'll be Newry names in
the Olympics.
Well, that would be the dream, but certainly at other international competition before that. If we're staying with sport, another sport that perhaps didn't get its due recognition for a number of years, but now has very much turned a corner, is boxing.
Yes.
We have a 2-time Ulster senior super heavyweight champion.
Goodness gracious.
Jason Barron. He dipped his toe into international action for the first time this week. He was representing an Antrim select. He boxes for Holy Trinity in Belfast against Spain, and so he had been sick for the past week and a half, and only decided 3 nights before that he was fit enough to box. And he said he was a little sluggish. But so he was incredibly critical of his own performance, despite the fact that he won all 3 rounds.
Yes.
So if someone is ambitious enough, now the dream for Jason is within the next fortnight, the Commonwealth Games squad will be announced, which would be tremendous. It'd be the first Commonwealth Games representative for the area. I think Patrick Murphy boxed in the Commonwealth Championships. Adrian Peterson, obviously, multiple-time Irish senior champion.
I can take you back 40 years, and there's an Adrian Peterson who was a great Newry boxer from the Meadow.
Well,
it wouldn't be this fellow, but maybe his father's.
Adrian Peterson would be probably mid to late 30s. He was Irish senior champion 3 times. So that would have been in the 1990s.
This must be a son or a grandson.
Adrian was one of the. He would have been on the same Irish teams as Bernard Dunn and Paul McCluskey. So that's the type of level you're talking about. Good news for Armagh fans, by the way, is that Aaron Kernan will be back in action this week after an extremely lengthy layoff.
He's very enthusiastic. I reckon that he must do nothing but work, go home, eat, and then watch sports programs. He's totally dedicated.
He does a fair bit of training as well.
Training as well.
He's certainly a hell of a footballer. Has been for years. So Armagh fans will be hoping that he hasn't lost anything in the injury.
You feature in the letters page today.
About the electric car.
Yeah, the electric car.
Yeah, a number of weeks ago I test drove an electric car in the area, and there was a number of problems, notably that some of the charging points didn't work. People were parked in front of some of the charging points, and also that the scan card for giving you access to the charging point wasn't read at one of the machines. Now, the department have got back in relation to the issues, and in a sense, they've acknowledged that these issues exist. And they're sort of explaining how they're going about it. Notably, that if you're a non-electric car and you park in a charging point, you're going to be fined £90.
Yes.
So
obviously,
don't do it.
No one has been fined £90 yet.
Well, I don't know. Maybe they have. Maybe they haven't. It was actually when I was charging the car, a traffic warden came up to me and he said it was incredible to actually see electric car parked in the space, because usually it was.
And they're saying here, we're also rolling out a program of works to colour the bays with green surface covering showing the e-car logo, and to erect signs at each space stating that they are for the use of electric cars only.
Well, I think the thing to remember is that it is developing technology, and the ideal is that they will be able to travel 220 miles without the need to recharge, at which point they become a very viable.
Yeah, absolutely. How did the drive? Remind me.
Absolutely fine.
Had you an enjoyable experience?
Yeah, it drives just like any other car. It can go the same speed as any other car. It's just you're constantly watching the fuel gauge.
Yeah, worried
in case. That might put you off putting the heat on, might put you off putting the radio on.
Yeah.
You might let the window get a little wet before you wipe it.
Wow. Yeah. It's got a way to go yet then.
It does, but I mean, if you look back, I'm sure your first car, you had to crank up at the front row.
This is a cheeky sod. He really is not a nice guy. Crank up the front.
Yeah.
I do remember those cars. Yes, I do. I have to say.
And but if you think of that, it takes time for technology to develop, when it gets there, we all reap the benefits.
We will. It's like Steve Gullion. Put the investment now, and then we grow in it. Yeah. Right. What have you got on for the rest of the day? What have
I on for the rest of the day? Planning for next week, largely. A few ideas, a few things to work on.
To what extent, I was, I noted last week you made the comment, you talked about, I have some ideas, I have some things to do. To what extent are you manufacturing, in the best sense of the word, news? And to what extent are you waiting for the news to present on your table?
Well, there has to be an element of both.
Yeah.
If you look at a newspaper, you're not going to fill a newspaper with quality content waiting for the phone to ring.
No.
So you have to go and find things, and there's numerous ways you can go about that.
Use your head.
Everyone has a contacts list
of
people you would ring.
Yeah.
There are various sources of finding data, not just reports of official bodies, but also elements such as the Freedom of Information Act that allows you to find facts, figures, information. Then you can start asking questions in relation to the information you found out. Sometimes things land on your desk in relation to certainly the more quirky stories. That's conversations with people. You'll hear interesting stories which you follow up, which
of course,
for me are often the most rewarding, because they're about people in the area who've done something a little bit different, and I like those sort of stories. But then there is the breaking news and the inescapable.
That's when the adrenaline goes. The breaking news, and you're there.
Unfortunately, it's seldom me who covers the breaking news. It'd be Donal or Ryan would cover breaking news stories.
Best let the younger fellows do it.
They're older than me. Yeah.
I'm just cranking you off. That's all. I was disappointed in an Irish news story during the week. I don't know. You're a young journalist. I'm an old journalist. Let's compare notes on this. Tuesday's Irish News had the story of the Chief Minister attending the funeral of Lord Ballyedmund, right? And it said that Peter runs the risk, this was the story, runs the risk of incurring the wrath of extreme unionists for attending a Catholic Mass. I roared no at that. I didn't like it, because we know he's done it before. He went to the funeral of the police officer who was shot. He came through the storm over that. And my feeling was, maybe I'm too conventional, my feeling was the story wasn't about him running any risk. The story was that he had done it, and then if he did endure the wrath of the leviathans of the party, then we'd cover that as a different story. But we were almost prophesying that something bad was going to happen, and I thought the Irish News let itself down on that. Didn't like it.
Nice use of leviathan, by the way, Ron. But I suppose in the context of time and time again, you've seen that Peter Robinson will receive criticism.
Oh yes, yeah.
So they're not preempting it. They know it is the case.
Yeah, it hasn't happened yet. There's been no criticism yet. It's if we constantly stand in the jungles of the past, we're not going to get out into the sunlight ever. And I thought that Irish news story was pulling us back. But anyway, that's neither here. There's 2 points of view. There's a middle ground. Have I given you the application form for the Alliance Party? 2 points of view at all times.
Other parties
one to the left and one to the right.
Other parties are available.
No, that's good. Thanks for coming in. You're great. No Andrew, we got some music. We're going to play now. Go well. Have a good day. God bless you. Take care.